While attending Atlanta's Black Writers Weekend, July 31st through August 2nd, I asked some of my fellow Black creators if they are tired of watching and reading stories about how Black Americans overcame slavery and oppression, operate organized drug rings and urban centers. I didn't receive any definitive responses, but the expressions on their faces let me know they were intrigued by the question. I surmised that they were probably asking themselves, what would that even look like? And would the Hollywood studio execs and New York publishers even jump at the chance to produce one of these films or publish one of these books? Like them, I would have been hard-pressed to respond to their questions. But after watching all 8 episodes of Hulu's Washington Black series, I can stand here today and say, yes, they would, and yes, they are. When I returned to Atlanta's Darwin Hotel after the event's second day, I reflected on how I felt while watching Hulu's Washington Black, which is based on Canadian author Essie Edouin's novel by the same name. According to Wikipedia 2025, the novel was published in 2018 by HarperCollins in Canada and by Knopf Publishers internationally, and the story follows the early life of George Washington Wash Black, chronicling his escape from slavery and his subsequent adventures. But what was so intriguing about the Hulu series and Edouin's novel is it isn't just a story about overcoming slavery and oppression. For me, it was more about how Edouin put Black excellence on display despite her Black character's enslavement. Many would argue that Wash's life didn't take a turn for the better until he became associated with his reluctant slave owner, Titch. I disagree. Selwyn Seyfu Hines and Jennifer Johnson, the 2 screenwriters who adapted the Washington Black novelization for television, offer 2 separate and distinct timelines, one of the younger Wash, the other of the older Wash, that lets us know how Titch's abandonment of a young Wash midway through the teleplay altered Wash's trajectory in the cinematic past and present. While the older Wash basks in the glow of his newfound freedom in Nova Scotia, Canada, we are witness to a Black man learning how to pursue and actualize his dream of building his version of Titch's cloud cutter flying machine. Wash's flying machine, while based on Titch's design, was built to last, which in my mind reinforces how intentional Hines and Johnson were in freeing their Black character of the white savior narrative that inhabits many contemporary Black storylines, especially the ones that have been traditionally sold and bought by Hollywood studio execs and New York publishers. The young Wash reluctantly follows Titch because of the urgings of Big Kit, the woman who cared for him during his formal years. Big Kit was a field Negro who was abducted from Dahomey, a kingdom located in what is now the Republic of Benin in West Africa. While pregnant with Wash, she was brought to the Barbados sugarcane plantation to work as an enslaved person. After Wash was born, she kept the true nature of her maternity from Wash and the plantation owners to prevent Wash from being sold off to other enslavers. However, it is my belief that Big Kit coaxed Wash to leave with Titch because she sensed that Titch was better equipped to help him develop his budding curiosity about the larger world and scientific innovation. I harbor no bitter feelings toward Black creative writers who choose to write stories about how Black Americans overcame slavery and oppression, operate drug rings in urban centers. These types of stories are entertaining and at times may be about sticking it to the man, but they are not stories about Black resistance, empowerment, and excellence. If anything, they are stories that normalize the portrayal of Black people as vagrants and criminals, and this works to desensitize the general public to Black Americans' long-standing struggle for equal rights and protections under the law. No one will ever forget what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis 5 years ago. We also say the names of Texas's Sandra Bland, Missouri's Michael Brown, and Florida's Trayvon Martin. But we must also reflect on the horrific televised images from 1965 when former U.S. Senator John Lewis, Democrat Georgia, and other protesters were trampled by horses and beaten with batons ridden and welded by Alabama state troopers. History notes that Bloody Sunday is the spark that motivated President Lyndon B. Johnson to sign the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I submit that stories of Black resistance, empowerment, and excellence are the sparks we need to remind Black contemporaries that the fight for equal rights and protections under the law is far from over. Today, we are increasingly discovering, through no effort of our own, that the stifling of Black progress is central to the conquering oppressor's hold on ultimate power, influence, and control. All we contemporary Blacks want to do is mind our own Black businesses, stay in our lane. But because the conquering oppressor has no desire to apologize or compensate for his crimes against us, he goes out of his way to convince the world that we are lazy and criminal. He has been employing this practice since 1863, when our ancestors stopped working for free. But when I reflect back on my viewing of Hulu's Washington Black, I note that the older Wash also used his blinged out flying machine to travel back to Big Kit's native Dahomey on the continent of Africa. This one act alone should signal to all Blacks, both domestically and internationally, that it is high time for us to take flight as well. Taking flight in this sense means we remembered that our African ancestors were kidnapped from their homeland and brought to the Americas to work someone else's cotton fields without compensation. Therefore, it behooves us, their contemporaries, to find ways to assist with the enrichment of Black African countries and their people. The African continent, the natural resources beneath its soil, is every Black person's inheritance. Wash returned with his wife Tana and daughter by his side. Whether our return is one of body or of mind, the bottom line is it is needed. Hulu's Washington Black is a reminder that the time to do it is now.